Hello and welcome to the new video. Today we're going to take a look at the top 10 teams for the Open Great League, and there are a lot of different ones compared to the last time, because now we are not going to take a look only at buffed Pokemon, but actually the top teams that were really decent for the last time where Great League was available. So definitely stay tuned for this one. Before, definitely feel free to subscribe to the channel. Only around 40% of the people are actually subscribed to the channel, so feel free to do this, as you can now move on into the meta analysis. It definitely changed a little bit, and I also changed a little bit the style of this section real quick, because we are going to have some analysis here from Go Battlelog, which shows more of the Pokemon that you're going to encounter most of the time, as well as going to show you some very decent Pokemon to pair it with. So basically you're going to see in the middle of the screen the most used Pokemon for the Open Great League at the current time, and everything that you see on the site is basically the best Pokemon to pair it with. For example, Lantern plus Medicham, Great Core, Medicham plus Lantern plus Lickitung plus a Registeel plus a Bastion plus a Sableye are all those Pokemon that you often see to use this one. Of course, depending on how big the part in the circle is, the more often this Pokemon gets used, and which you're going to see here right now in the next graphic as well. We're going to see that Medicham is by far the most common Pokemon to use right now, as well as still Pokemon like a Lantern is very, very common. Azumarill is rising up right now, which you're going to see in some teams as well. Sableye is very, very strong still. Galarian Stunfisk still high up there. I think it's still some of the medals from last season as well, but you see Steelix getting a great increase as well, so that definitely shows a little bit better the meta and what you kind of want to pair Pokemon with. So, moving on to the top teams. First team coming up here right now going to be the Uprising team currently for the Go Battlelog, which is a team around Sandslash plus Azumarill. This is basically a perfect core. Azumarill mainly being weak to electric type and grass type Pokemon, as well as poison, you're going to be able to beat all of those with your lead of the alone Sandslash. Having access to Drill Run going to give you coverage for poison as well as electric. Having access to Ice Punch and in general the ice typing going to give you coverage for grass type Pokemon. So this is basically a perfect core in the current meta, and then we're going to pair it with a Sasop of the Medicham, or also the Sableye would work out fairly well. Medicham was likely a little bit better. You could actually argue of going for the Powder Snow variant of the Alone Sandslash as well, just to have a better matchup against Lickitung. But here you can see how decent this team is going to work. In general, I would say definitely a solid team to use right now. And yeah, maybe even Powder Snow is better for the Alone Sandslash, really depends, but definitely has some play. So first team is very, very meta, and of course we're going to have a lot of very meta teams here right now. We're going to have a team that also I think in the top teams for the last video as well, which was Lickitung, Gligar, as well as Gliscor or Steelix in the back. This is really, really decent. In general, going to give you great coverage against most of the things in the current meta. Lickitung is actually really decent against Medicham, which you most likely don't expect, unless Medicham is running either the Power Punch or the Dynamic Punch. Then even the Dynamic Punch is kind of fine for Lickitung, but Lickitung can win the Zero as well as the two-shield scenario as far as I know against Medicham, so it's not a bad matchup. But also you're going to have still the Gligar in the back, which is going to definitely do some decent damage with the Shadow bonus as well, which is going to be preferred usually. You can still go for a normal Gligar. Normal Gligar also works out well. Now you can use Gliscor in the back, or something like a Steelix, something like, I don't know, a Registeel in general, like the Steel core together with a Medicham. It works out really well, but also Lickitung is really solid for this one. Lickitung in the lead is just very, very neutral in general, which helps out quite a bit. So definitely a solid line to use in the current meta, especially as you're going to have coverage as well for something like a Lantern with all your Pokemon here right now, as you have Earthquake, Dig, as well as Power Whip. So let's take a look at the next team coming up. Team number 3 going to be a very bulky backline here of having two Pokemon basically in the back that are weak to the fighting typing. But the special thing about this team here is you're going to have a Sasop of either the Steelix as well as the Registeel. Both of them are fairly decent against the Medicham, unless Medicham runs Dynamic Punch slash Power Punch. So like those Pokemon can bait out a Medicham, also kinda even beat them in some scenarios, which is kinda wild. And then you're still going to have a Pokemon in the back that usually just don't want to face fighting type Pokemon like the Alone Sandslash or the Diggersby, and they can just run free in the back, which is really, really cool for the team, and it looks really solid on paper. Mantine plus also the Pelipper are looking really great in the current meta as well. If you can use Cresselia very strong together with the Diggersby, like basically a perfect core. So this team itself Looks super solid on paper, should work out super well as well, and I can highly recommend you to try that one out if you have the Pokemon, of course. Also, for Steelix, there's going to be an event available very soon where you can get this Pokemon in the wild, which is going to be very nice, so definitely try to get a decent IV variant of this Pokemon then. But otherwise, this team looks very solid. Next team coming up, we're going to have a PvPoke's favorite team from the beginning of the season, which is going to be Steelix. I think they used the Shadow Steelix Pilopa as well as the Serperior. Serperior is a super underrated Pokemon, which I definitely want to try to make a showcase about as well, as Aerial Ace buff basically there with the Energy Nerf on it is giving the Serperior such more play. Also, it's the bulkiest of the Grass-type starter, which is kind of interesting. So you see already, it looks great on paper. This team kind of struggles against Registeel, where I might even would consider a different kind of lead, like an own Registeel would work out fairly well. I'm fairly certain they're going to be different ones as well. But other than Registeel's team looks really, really amazing and looks like a lot of fun to play. So highly can recommend it to you. It looks like a lot of fun. Again, like Registeel itself can be a little bit tricky. Trevenant on the back is also a great substitution for the Serperior. But let's move on into the next team, which is going to be team number 5. Grasshole is back. I don't really have to talk too much about it. The thing with this team is it is great against 90% of the meta, or like 99% of the meta. There's just one Pokemon that is really tough to deal with, which is going to be the Gligar. You also see here, for example, Medicham, but Medicham, of course, against your own Medicham, it's neutral. Against the Deoxys, you actually win against the Medicham. And in the back, both Victory Bell as well as the Tropius is going to have positive matchups against Medicham in certain scenarios as well. I think just the Zero Shield, which is basically the main thing here, is going to look a little bit better for Medicham, but the backline actually can fairly easily deal with it. So that's not really the biggest issue, but more like something like a Gligar going to be an issue for this team. But if you don't encounter this one, it's a very cheap team. It's like a cheap team to not build, but to use, because you don't really have to do a lot of things here. It's a very, very fast move pressure-ish team, which is going to be fairly easy to play. So if you want to play it, it's definitely very strong in this season right now. Other than, of course, Gligar. Gligar going to be a little bit of an issue there. So, next one coming up, going to be a team around Mudboys. I don't know which one I prefer more, Double Mudboy or Double Steel. Both of them are fine. Dragonite right now is just the main Pokemon that I kind of want to highlight here right now. Also had a lot of great play in recent regionals. I think Vadash won with Dragonite in their regional. I think it was like Pittsburgh or whatever 2 weeks ago. So, or 3 weeks ago now. So, great Pokemon right now in the current meta. Very underrated. Dragonite is just basically benefiting from having both the Noctowl as well as the Altaria being gone from the current meta. As this basically now takes the place of Altaria, which is really cool and was already before very decent. Having coverage with Superpower is very nice for the Shadow Dragonite. Definitely a strong Pokemon to build at the current time. Also, you can run actually a triple water team as well if you want, with Mantine and Double Mudboy. Would work out insanely well in the current meta. Might actually do this just for like a mono type challenge team, because it looks like a lot of fun to play triple Mudboy, or like triple water right now in the current meta. So, moving on, we're going to have a team around Razor Leaf variant of Tropius, and you might already saw this team on my channel before, where I tried to build the best team around Tropius. Seriously, I actually didn't do the last week, but the weeks before, and like a lot of people just liked when I tried to do different teams as well around certain Pokemon, so I'm most likely going to do it this week as well. But this was basically the best team I came up with Tropius. Yes, you're going to have a double weakness against Fire-type Pokemon, but even your Alolan Sandslash is going to be able to beat most of the Fire-type Pokemon in the current meta. By the way, the best Fire-type Pokemon right now is Charizard by far, and it's rank 100 on PvPoke, which is just so sad. I'm most likely going to make a video about how to buff Fire-type Pokemon eventually, but here right now you don't really have to care too much about Fire-types, as you're going to have the Tropius, you're going to have the Lantern as well, you're going to have the Alolan Sandslash in the back. Great team here. Of course, you can also use substitutes depending on it. You can actually have like the core standard meta team here of the Medicham, Lickitung, and Registeel in the back as well. But like you can also run, for example, the Medicham lead, the Seisaw of Lantern, and the Sandslash in the back, giving you 2 Pokemon that cover flying type Pokemon. It's just a very solid line in general. You can just exchange every Pokemon for whatever you want here. So here you're going to see it also on paper. You see already Tropius is insanely strong in the lead, especially in the 2-shield scenario with Razor Leaf. This Pokemon can beat actually like around 90% of the current meta, which is absolutely wild, ridiculously strong, and also was a lot of fun to play when I played it. Next, we're going to be a team that I also played already. Actually copied this team from Arrow, which who made also like basically this team with a Venus on the back. I played it on my channel before with Tropius with Air Slash in the back. Liked it a lot. Very great core, very good to play. Highly recommend it to you. Gligar plus Lantern is a great core. There is a little bit of a core break, I think, which is, for example, Swampert. Lickitung not so much. I think there was something crazier which I now forgot about. You must have saw it in the video when you saw the video where I played this team. But some are definitely a little bit awkward to play around. I think it was mainly the biggest core breaker for this team. But otherwise, combination of this team looks like a lot of fun. Shadow Venusaur recently won a regional as well, which I actually covered on my channel as well. Check the video out. It was a lot of work to do this one. But we can now move on to team number 9, which is going to be about Digger Speed. This is a Digger Speed team, which is mainly around trying to have the bulkiest Pokemon that are fitting well together. Digger Speed now running Scorching Sand plus Hyper Beam is kind of nice. You can actually opt to go for the Quick Attack as well. For this team, I think Mudshot is definitely the better move to go for, because you kind of want to have a little bit of better coverage against Steel-type Pokemon, as your Cresselia are going to be fairly weak against those. Mudshot is generating energy a little bit faster than the Quick Attack, while Quick Attack does more damage. But as you can see on paper, it looks nearly like a perfect team to run. You can also use the Mantine in the back if you don't have a Cresselia, as you always... Like, I see a lot of people don't having Cresselia. Mantine actually works out super well for this one as well. It covers even better the Gligar, where you're going to be weak against, as well as the Mandaboss, where you're going to be very weak against. So maybe even Mantine might be the better Pokemon for the backline for this team. As we can now move on to the final team of today's video, which is going to be also a little bit messy here, you might think. But again, you can kind of exchange every Pokemon for certain roles. They have the role here on the lead for the anti-fighting type Pokemon. You can use Gligar, you can use Shadow Gligar, you can use Deoxys Defense. Then you're going to have the Saysop, which is going to try to bait out a potential fighter, like the Medicham, which is going to be the Lickitung slash the what's called the Umbreon there, and then you're going to have in the back some kind of water-type Pokemon or something that doesn't really want to face Medicham, which is going to be Dugong, for example, here in this team building there, but you can also use something like Greninja or also the Lantern if you want to be a little bit lame. The thing is, we had recently the regionals as well, and you might have seen Pedoman in the finals using basically the same idea here, where they had Lickitung and Saysop, having Dugong in the back as a closer, and having then either something like a Deoxys Defense or the Gligar in the lead, just to bait out something, have still the answer in the back, and then just try to sweep endgame with Dugong, which worked out super well for them. So this team definitely should work out super well as well. It was, again, proven right in the recent regional, getting into the finals of that regional, so definitely a solid line here as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I think this is a really good video in terms of giving you some team ideas for the upcoming Great League period, so definitely hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, check out the video on the screen about Shadow Magnezone, and I see you then. Bye bye.